"Close that window shade immediately." The command comes at me like a slap, and I look up from my book to see a woman in designer sunglasses leaning across the empty middle seat, her manicured finger pointing at my window like she's identifying a crime scene. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're somewhere over the Rocky Mountains on Sky West Flight 725, and the sunlight streaming through my window is apparently a personal attack on this stranger's existence. I'm Bennett Hayes, 34 years old, a software developer from Portland, Oregon, flying to my sister's graduation in Denver. I packed light, brought a good book, chose the window seat specifically for the view, and definitely did not budget for in-flight drama with a woman who thinks airplane windows come with her personal remote control. She's wearing what I can only describe as airport fashion battle armor, a cream-colored tracksuit that probably costs more than my laptop, massive Gucci sunglasses despite being indoors at cruising altitude, and a leopard print neck pillow that looks like it ate a small zoo. Her carry-on bag has more designer logos than a mall directory, and her energy screams country club president crossed with homeowners association enforcer. We're in row 14 on the left side of the plane, standard economy despite her luxury accessories. I'm in 14A, she's in 14B, and seat 14C is mercifully empty, which apparently emboldens her to treat it like a demilitarized zone she can cross at will. Outside my window, the afternoon sun is painting the mountain peaks in shades of gold and amber, the kind of view that makes you remember why humans invented flight in the first place. Inside the plane, however, a very different kind of storm is brewing. The woman doesn't wait for my response. She reaches across the empty seat and tries to pull my window shade down herself, her rings clicking against the plastic. I block her hand with my book and keep my voice level and calm. "Excuse me, but this is my seat and my window." She recoils like I've just announced I have a contagious disease, then immediately shifts into what I recognize as full Karen mode. Her voice rises to that particular pitch that carries through aircraft aluminum like a fire alarm. On all domestic flights, all window shades must be lowered at 2 p.m. sharp to protect passengers with photosensitivity conditions. It's federal aviation law, and I will not tolerate violations in my immediate airspace. Her immediate airspace. I let that phrase hang in the recycled cabin air for a moment, waiting to see if she realizes how absurd it sounds. She doesn't. Instead, she pulls out her phone and starts scrolling with aggressive thumb movements, muttering about regulations and passenger rights. Then she produces, and I am not making this up, a laminated card from her purse. It's printed on heavy cardstock with an official-looking border, titled Passenger Comfort Protection Act, Mandatory Shade Protocol. The document is decorated with clip art of planes and sunshine symbols with red X marks through them. She holds it up like a cop flashing a badge and taps a highlighted section that reads, "All window shades must be in the closed position between 1400 and 1600 hours to ensure optimal cabin comfort for light-sensitive travelers." I scan the card, noting the suspicious absence of any actual FAA logos or government seals, and the fact that it appears to have been made on someone's home printer with way too much confidence and laminating supplies. Before I can point out that this is about as official as a kid's detective badge from a cereal box, our flight attendant appears in the aisle. Her name tag reads Sandra, and she has the patient expression of someone who has seen every possible variety of passenger conflict. The woman in 14B immediately launches into her complaint, speaking rapidly and gesturing at my window like it's emitting toxic radiation. This passenger is refusing to comply with federal shade regulations. "I need you to enforce the 2 p.m. dimming protocol immediately. I'm experiencing severe photosensitivity, and this constitutes a medical safety issue." Sandra glances at the bright afternoon sunlight, then at the woman's massive dark sunglasses, then at me with a look that says she's already done the math on this situation. But she maintains her professional composure. "Ma'am, I can assure you that window shade position at cruising altitude is at the discretion of the passenger in the window seat. There's no regulation requiring shades to be closed during flight except during taxi, takeoff, and landing for safety visibility." The woman's mouth opens and closes like a fish processing betrayal. Then she pivots strategies with the speed of someone who's had a lot of practice losing arguments and refusing to accept it. She turns to address the passengers around us, raising her voice to include rows 13 and 15 in her audience. "Attention, fellow passengers. As a certified wellness advocate and passenger rights coordinator, I am formally requesting compliance with cabin dimming procedures. Those of you in window seats, please lower your shades to protect those of us with medical sensitivities." A few passengers look up with confusion. One guy in row 15 slowly raises his shade higher, possibly just to see what happens. A woman across the aisle whispers something to her husband, and they both stifle laughs. The certified wellness advocate in 14B does not appreciate the lack of immediate compliance. She presses her call button once, twice, then holds it down for a solid 5 seconds until Sandra returns with a slightly less patient expression. "Ma'am, I need to ask you to stop pressing the call button unless you have a legitimate service need." The woman gestures dramatically at my window. This is a legitimate need. He's creating a hostile light environment. I'm being assaulted by unauthorized photons. This is a health and safety violation, and if this airline refuses to enforce basic passenger protections, I'll have no choice but to file a formal complaint with the Federal Aviation Administration, the Department of Transportation, and my attorney who specializes in in-flight passenger trauma cases. She delivers this threat with the confidence of someone who has definitely threatened to call attorneys before, probably at restaurants and retail stores and anywhere else that made the mistake of telling her no. I decide it's time to end this performance. I reach into my backpack and pull out my tablet, opening it to a bookmarked page I keep for work travel. I'm the kind of person who actually reads airline policies when I'm bored, partly because I'm a nerd about systems and rules, and partly because I've learned that knowing the actual regulations is the best defense against people who make them up. I navigate to the Sky West Airlines passenger policy section and find the relevant passage. I turn the screen toward Sandra and the woman, reading aloud in my calmest teacher voice. Sky West Airlines Policy Section 4.7, Window Shade Protocol. During cruising altitude, window shade position is solely at the discretion of the passenger assigned to that window seat. Window shades must be open during taxi, takeoff, and landing for emergency visibility. At no other time are passengers required or prohibited from adjusting their assigned window shade position. Sandra nods, relief evident on her face that someone brought receipts. That's correct. Sir, you're absolutely within your rights to keep your shade open. I scroll down to show the woman another section. And here's the FAA regulation reference. There is no federal requirement for shade closure at 2 p.m. or any other specific time during cruise. The only shade-related rules are about keeping them open during critical phases of flight. The woman's face cycles through several shades of red that have nothing to do with photosensitivity. She grabs for my tablet like she's going to somehow delete the policy by touching it, but I pull it back smoothly. "That's a fake website," she hisses. "You probably made that yourself. I have real documentation." She waves her laminated card again, which somehow looks even less official next to an actual airline website. Sandra's professionalism is reaching its limit. "Ma'am, I can verify that's our genuine policy on my crew device if you'd like." But the woman is past the point of reason. She makes one final lunge across the empty middle seat, trying to force my window shade down with both hands while simultaneously blocking my view and invading my personal space in about 17 different ways. Her giant sunglasses slide down her nose, her neck pillow shifts sideways, and in her aggressive reaching, her elbow knocks into her own tray table where she'd set her $20 airport Bloody Mary. The drink tips, spills, cascades down the tray table with impressive velocity, and splashes directly onto her cream-colored tracksuit and that laminated, official card, turning her supposed federal documentation into a tomato juice-soaked mess that bleeds red food coloring across the clip art planes. The cabin reaction is immediate and glorious. Someone in row 13 snorts with laughter. The couple across the aisle openly giggles. The guy in 15 who raised his shade earlier gives me a subtle thumbs up. Even a kid a few rows back says loudly, "Mommy, why is that lady wearing her drink?" The woman jerks back into her seat, staring at her ruined outfit in horror, her sunglasses now completely askew, tomato juice dripping from her laminated card onto her designer purse. Sandra maintains her composure with heroic effort, reaching up to grab paper towels from the galley supply, but her lips are pressed together in a way that suggests she's fighting her own smile. I calmly slide my window shade all the way up to its maximum height, letting in the full glory of the afternoon sun, which now illuminates the woman's tomato juice disaster in high definition. The surrounding rows notice, and there's a ripple of quiet laughter and whispered commentary spreading through the cabin like a wave. Sandra hands the woman a stack of napkins and then produces a yellow card from her apron pocket, the kind I've seen flight attendants use for actual problem passengers. She speaks in a voice that's polite but has zero negotiation left in it. "Ma'am, I'm issuing you a formal passenger disturbance warning. Any further attempts to touch another passenger's property, make false claims about airline or federal regulations, or harass fellow travelers will result in law enforcement meeting this aircraft upon landing in Denver. She writes something on the card and hands it to the woman, who takes it with trembling, tomato juice sticky fingers. The rest of the flight passes in blissful, sun-soaked silence from row 14B. The woman spends the remaining 90 minutes trying to clean tomato juice out of her tracksuit with steadily diminishing success, her laminated card abandoned and warped on her tray table, a soggy monument to made-up rules and instant karma. When we begin our descent into Denver, Sandra makes the standard announcement over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for landing, please ensure all window shades are in the full upright and open position for landing visibility, as required by federal aviation regulations. I don't look over, but I can feel the woman's silent fury radiating from seat 14B as she's now required by actual law to sit in a brightly lit cabin for landing. We touch down smooth, and as the plane taxis to the gate, Sandra stops by my row. She smiles genuinely for the first time all flight and says quietly, "Thank you for being a reasonable passenger and for actually knowing the rules. It made my job a lot easier." Then she glances at the woman in 14B and adds, just loud enough for nearby rows to hear, "You know what's interesting? The passengers who scream loudest about rules are usually the ones who never bothered to read them." As we deplane, I notice airport security waiting at the gate along with a supervisor in a Sky West uniform. They're holding tablets and looking at their screens as passengers file past. When the woman from 14B emerges, still wearing her tomato-stained tracksuit and carrying her designer bags with significantly less confidence than she boarded with, the supervisor steps forward. "Ma'am, we need to speak with you about the passenger disturbance report filed by our flight crew. We take false claims about airline and federal regulations very seriously, as well as physical harassment of other passengers. You'll need to come with us to discuss the incident and determine whether you'll be permitted to fly with Sky West in the future." The woman's face goes pale under her smeared makeup. This is ridiculous. I was just trying to enforce basic comfort rules. The security officer shakes his head. "Ma'am, making false claims about regulations and physically attempting to force another passenger to comply with invented rules constitutes harassment. The airline is filing an internal incident report, and you're being placed on a 12-month flying probation with Sky West Airlines. Any similar incidents with this or partner carriers will result in a permanent ban from the airline." They escort her toward an office area while other passengers flow around them toward baggage claim, several of them glancing back and whispering. I catch fragments of their conversations as I pass. "Can you believe she actually thought?" And "made up rules about windows." And "tomato juice karma." I collect my bag and head toward ground transportation, pulling out my phone to text my sister that I've landed. The afternoon sun is still bright outside the terminal windows, streaming in without any laminated cards or wellness advocates to block it. Sometimes I think the universe has a way of teaching people that actual rules exist for a reason, and making up your own doesn't work when someone shows up with receipts. My window stays open in my memory as the perfect response. Bright, clear, and completely, officially, federally legal.